All right. So, Daryl, thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you.
CEO, founder, Roken Vapes.
Yes, sir.
I happen to be your webmaster.
Yes, you are,
Last
Alex.
couple of
Yes.
years. I want to talk about a whole bunch of subjects, just two guys talking. Let's just see what comes of it. I want to do a focus on custom redesigns generally of WordPress websites. I'm talking
Yes.
about people that have existing informational or e-commerce websites interested in doing redesigns. I want to talk about the theory, what I think the process should be, some serious things that you should be cautious of, especially if you're a site with significant traffic, and that's it.
Yes, I think that's an important thing, something I want to know more about.
Good. Well, you should say, well, Alex, why the heck didn't you talk to me about it 2 years ago?
Well, we're talking about it now, right?
All right. So I always say this. Look, there's a couple of roads people can take when they hire designers, right? There's the theme forest, find a template, iterate the template method, right? Which, God forbid, under no circumstance should you ever take. I'm guilty of this, by the way. In the beginning of my career, I started about 12 years ago, 2012, and I had no idea what I was doing, right? So you would have come to me then. I always say, thank God you didn't hire me then. I would have went to a place like Theme Forest. I would have looked for vape or whatever, kind of something related to your business. And I would have tried to find a theme that was in line with that.
Okay. Yeah.
I would mess around with it in development environment for a couple of weeks, do the best I can to get something out of it and present it to you and cross my fingers and my toes and pray to God that you liked it, right? Sounds terrible, correct? Yeah. Sounds really bad, right? Okay. So lots of people that are designers, I'm using air quotes here, do the theme forest route, right? Because they don't possess the skill set of custom designing in a tool like Figma, my favorite tool. And I think that there is a ton of inherent risks to you, the business owner, for people that are not real designers, right? You with me so far?
Sure. Yeah. Because, our businesses are dependent on this.
Yes. You are not screwing around, and this is not a business card for you.
Correct.
You are relying upon the website in order to take orders, make money, facilitate business, et cetera,
It's one of our main vehicles. Yeah.
Main vehicle for success. Correct. So, the theme forest route is, look, I don't want to come across as bashing, right? I put that in the same category as the drag and drop builders that are available today, right? There's a time and a place for it. It's no budget, low budget, proof of concept, just trying to launch something and see how it goes. You're just a startup with no money, right? I get it, right? There's a reason to go and mess around in those things, and maybe they can't afford a designer with experience, et cetera.
Sure.
But if you're taking it seriously and if you want to do it right, I am fully of the opinion that it doesn't have to be Figma, right? Figma is an amazing tool. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
I am not familiar with it.
It was in the news recently. It was a failed acquisition from Adobe that didn't work out. A lot of media coverage around that. But essentially, it's a tool to fully design something in advance, right? So somebody comes to me today and says, hey, I have a website. I say, great. Where is it built in? WordPress. Great. That's the only platform I work in. We're not happy with the look and feel. Say, okay. My general process is to ask for design inspiration and say, show me examples of designs you absolutely love and wish your website looked like, right? Not to copy, right? I'm not asking to copy, but I need to understand, hey, Daryl, what is beautiful to you, right? Because what's beautiful to you is different to me, different to Chris, different to everybody else, right?
Just like we like different colors.
We like different. Right? I love that color, by the way, of your products. But I was going to tell you that earlier. So we have to identify like what direction are we going. I've got this saying. It's without a goal, any direction will do. We can go to the left, we can go to the right. It doesn't matter because we don't know where the hell we're going. But if you showed me 2 or 3 sites that you absolutely loved, I would say I understand the look and feel that you like. I'll go to Figma. I will extract from your homepage, for example, all of the content that exists there, but I will restyle it in my own style and in the style of design inspiration you gave me, right? And present it to you. That's my general process of refining. Let's call it a rebrand of a homepage, and I'll present it to you quickly, right? One of the things I always say in my marketing efforts is you'll have mock-ups from me of a new homepage in the first week that you hire me. And I think that that's significant.
Sure, because they're paying you for a service and they're putting the money out and they're waiting to get a return. And the longer they wait,
the less they're going to have a faith in a good result.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how many times I've heard people say, I paid a web design company. It's been 4 months. It's been 8 months, like crazy numbers.
Sure.
And they don't have a result. I often also hear an equally crazy statement of, even on informational websites that aren't e-commerce, that aren't complex like yours, oh, it's 6 months in order to redesign a project. I'm like, what the hell are you doing for 6 months? Like,
or is
seriously.
it because they're that backlog that they're willing to take the work, but they don't relatively have the ability to get to it?
You know what? It's a good point. I would argue that knowing what it takes from a marketing perspective in my business to generate quality leads and then business, that's a tough one to believe for me, right? I'm not saying nobody's busy. I'm sure plenty of people are busy, but my business is one that it is difficult and costly in order to generate quality traffic to the website that, has real intent, right? But anyway, so coming back to the whole Figma idea, right? I say often that there's nothing like action. We can endlessly talk about something that you like or want to see, but if I don't go to Figma, it's just nothing's going to happen, right? So I much rather get a good feel of what you want, go to Figma, and even if I only get 50% of the way there on my first try, it's good. It's not a bad thing, right? Because the beauty is we can iterate absolutely everything. I have full control of the entire experience inside of Figma. There is nothing that you could tell me that I couldn't affect inside of Figma and therefore affect in WordPress after when it's being developed. So first week, I'm presenting mock-ups to you of a new brand, essentially reestablishing the brand, right?
Sure.
Listening to what you want. Homepage is often the heaviest, right? It's the most difficult from a time perspective.
Is all, like, when you spruce that out, is all the content the same, all the pages the same? So let's say I had, 97 pages on my website. When I redesign, it's just going to 97 pages and look differently with all the same links?
It's a very good point you're making. Now, we have to take into consideration a few things. Number one, is it an informational site or is it e-commerce? Okay. Number two, does the site have significant organic rankings and traffic or doesn't it? Right? Because that will heavily impact the comments that I'm going to make to you, right? Let's take your example. You are an e-commerce website built on WooCommerce and you have very significant traffic to your website, right?
Yes.
So the worst thing that I could imagine is going and redesigning something and it'd be the prettiest thing that you've ever seen in the world. But when you go and code it, you make a bunch of problems and you screw up the homepage. You don't, let's say, copy what you've said, the structure, the links, et cetera, all the things that are happening on site. You're opening up yourself for major problems.
Yeah, I've probably gotten myself in a worse situation then.
Correct. And what would you prefer? A website that maybe isn't the most visually stunning, newest thing that you've ever seen, or a website that has serious traffic and purchases?
Yeah, it's like having a beautiful car that doesn't run.
Correct.
If the website don't work right.
The Ferrari is in the garage and nobody is seeing it, right?
Correct, exactly. Which is doing no one any good.
No one any good. So I am of the opinion that one must be very cautious when undertaking such things.
Yes.
Again, is there significant traffic? Is the website a significant driver of the engine of money for your business, right?
Correct.
The vehicle, as you called it. If the answer to those is yes, you better hold your horses, right?
Correct.
Be extremely cautious in who you're hiring because there could be a major problem.
I almost look at it like moving. Like my dad one time had to move his business after 20 something years. I remember how nervous he was. And I didn't really understood it when I was young because he did better when he moved. But I understood the same thing. It's like on the website. It's like everything's working well, doing good. I want to do better, but I certainly don't want to do worse.
Correct. And I would say my advice to anyone that's hearing me say this is first of all, make sure you hire the right people. Second of all, is just take a phased approach to it, right? For example, you would be shocked at what a little bit of restyling of a header and footer would do. You'd be shocked at what a homepage header and footer would do, even to other pages that you don't touch, right? How many SKUs do you have on your site approximately?
Oh, there's over 100, I believe.
Over 100. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got hundreds of links on your website when we take into consider variations, et cetera.
Yes. Interlinkings, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So WooCommerce, let's say I was to redesign just the product page. I'm not redesigning 100 different pages. I am simply redesigning the template in which the product shows up, right? So from your perspective, the thing would look different, but there would be no difference to the content that is on every single page. It's just the styling of it, right? So if I was to give you any advice, I would say, I understand the desire for forward progress, right? Everybody does. We want to get better. We want to iterate. We want to improve. We don't want to stay with the same. And we also don't want to live in a place of fear and constantly worry, right?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, we should be smart about what we're doing and not be lazy about the process. So I would say, take a phased approach, do some designing in Figma and get to a point where you're like, wow, it's gorgeous. And then how can we most minimally affect the site? Yes, there are best practices. Yes, there are things one should do, but it should be done in a phased approach. That's my opinion.
Yes.
And cautiously, right? Do the homepage, do the styling of the header, do the styling of the footer.
And making sure it works along the way.
Making sure it works along the way. Do not touch the links. Do not touch all the work that you've done here. And maybe do it over, let's do it this month, right? Maybe we do the product page template secondly. Maybe we do it in 30 days from now. How is it affecting traffic? What's happening in Search Console? Are there new errors showing up, right? Like,
sure.
I like that approach.
Yes.
And again, that's my comments would be lesser so for an informational site with whatever, 20, 30 pages. It's easy. We just make sure that the same page structure exists, make sure we're not significantly changing page content. And again, as the traffic on site is lessened, well, the risk is lessened, right? It doesn't matter. It's at a certain point, it matters less. So, and in fact, a redesign could significantly improve. One of the benefits I think of my ecosystem is, we have the preferred page builder. We have our ways of doing things that we know work really well, and oftentimes it's a significant lift or improvement than the status quo, right? Mm-hmm. So, coming back to the design process, right? We've established, let's say, a new brand for a homepage quickly. Let's say week 1, you have a homepage. You give me comments. Doesn't matter if there's 2 or 30 comments. It's irrelevant. We're going to knock them out. I'm looking for perfection. I don't want to do half-assed dreck nonsense work, right? I want everyone to be happy with the work. Once we've established that, it's far easier to produce the interior pages, right? There's a style. Here's the font types we like. Here's the colors, whatever we've done, right? My general plan is let's then knock out all interior pages as part of the sitemap that we're to do. We will then go through the same iteration editing process that we've talked about. Once that's done, got to do mobile versions of everything, right? Absolutely have to. How many people come to your site for mobile? Do you know the numbers?
Oh, it's like 90%.
Is it that much?
Yeah.
I heard 85 from someone else the other day. I see, never do I see less than 50, but that's extremely high.
I think it's because our customer base is predominantly younger.
Yeah, agreed.
Like when we get, I'm 44 myself, like my customer base, I would say is generally the sweet spot is 25 to 35.
Yep. So 90% coming from the cell. So what a mistake it would be to undertake a beautiful redesign of desktop only, right? Not make the effort to make the mobile versions, send the desktop version to a developer, and then have the developer guess what the mobile version should look like.
Correct, yeah, because it would be the opposite. We want the mobile version to be the perfected, version, and then
maybe we should start with mobile, right? Do desktop secondly, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. It's absolutely critical. One thing I'm really into also is I hate boring hamburger menus, mobile nav, right?
Sure.
Make it badass. Make it awesome, right? It doesn't take
It's got to
be
inviting. It's like stores had nice fixtures and stuff. The website's like your fixture.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And when you can improve the user experience, I mean, what kind of potential improvement could it do to your sales?
Correct.
Right?
Whether it looks nicer, easier to navigate,
Easier to navigate, pain-free, easier to add products to the cart, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my process of design, right? And again, I'm not the type of person that's really interested in locking clients into, there's 4 revisions and we're not going to touch anything else.
You better figure this out now.
Yeah, no, it's like, guys, let's just roll up the sleeves. So what? There's 2 more changes, 10 more changes, 3 less, 4. It doesn't really matter, right? What matters is that we're working in a collaborative fashion as a team in order to get the result that we want. And from my position, I spoke about kind of these crazy numbers of 6-month projects and all of that. I can say with confidence that and this is really based on you giving me feedback, right? Like if someone says, how long does it take? I'd say the Figma process for an average site should not take us more than a few weeks. It shouldn't. Now, if I send you something and I don't hear from you for 3 weeks, obviously that's going to negatively affect the timeline. But if we're working together and we are on board with each other, we should be hitting a completed Figma design in a few weeks, right? Because we're just hitting it every day, day. Like we're just doing it, right? Additionally, again, there's variations based on from a development perspective, but the development process for such a site, again, couple of weeks of full attention, right? I'm not talking about spending an hour a day. Like it's on the developer's calendar, period, blocked off, and there's nothing else being done besides that. It's a couple week period. There's always a QA that has to happen post development that's in the QA in our development environment. And I think that what am I talking here? 6 weeks, maybe? I mean, that's a good timeline.
Yeah.
If you start hearing stuff 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I'm really questioning what the heck is going on for so long.
What are they doing?
Maybe it's that we're really busy. Maybe it's we're super slow for whatever reason. I like to think of myself as just focused on like a few things. And because of that limited focus, we can do stuff faster. There's lots of people, I think, in the digital marketing or web space that, I don't know, seemingly offer endless amount of services related to websites. And I would caution to look for specialists that have defined processes, that have great portfolio. Like, my goodness, look at the portfolio, right? Like if the website of the web designer that you're going to hire is not attractive, if has errors, God forbid, if there's, vocabulary issues, whatever, I've seen everything. It should caution you, right? It should caution you.
Sure, yeah.
And
yeah, their website should be pretty good. If they're going to make you a good website.
It should be really damn good.
Yeah.
It should be really damn good. And if it isn't, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So that's my approach to custom redesigns. I think that it's for me, it's always so exciting to reimagine something. I have my hand in total redesigns of businesses' faces online, right? I like to think of myself as, I can go really strong and really wild with some things when I'm allowed to, when it makes sense, right? Like I'm doing a site for actually a bowling alley in the Midwest now.
Okay.
So interesting, like huge facility, right? I am going wild with it. And the owner is allowing me to have a lot of fun with this. I really believe it will be one of our greatest works of the last few years. It is just so fun, so amazing. Now, obviously, that style would not apply to what you were doing. It's totally irrelevant, right? But the ability to like have some fun, do something different, not be like everybody else really excites me. When I was earlier in my career, I got advice and it said, just do websites for one particular market, lawyers, doctors, realtors, whatever.
Okay.
And I never listened to that advice. I understand that one can speak deeper about, in their lingo about the issues that they particularly face. But I thought that was boring to just churn out the same thing over and over and over.
It's like you have like 3 or 4 templates. Like
Correct.
You're a lawyer, I just slap you on this template and here you go.
Correct. I'm not interested in doing that at all.
It's just a lawyer probably doesn't look that much. He probably doesn't notice.
Doesn't notice. And look, one might argue and say, well, aren't you just copying when you ask for design inspiration? I'm like, no, I need to understand what speaks to you, right? That's a difference to me. I'm not copying John Smith's legal website, right?
So I ask you, when you have a design inspiration, do you ever look at something in like nature or something in like, urban environment to draw that influence for a design?
That's interesting. My personal preference is to look both at competitors in your space, just so I understand the market. And frankly, it could be any business type. It does not matter, right? If we're redoing your e-commerce site, I could be looking at an architect site from New York or an interior designer site from Chicago. It doesn't matter. I'm looking for like, what feeling does it evoke when you see it? What kind of imagery is there? What are the font types? Font is so important, right? So important. And frankly, everything is important. There's this thing, cursive knowledge, right? You learn how to do something well enough that you can't undo it. And I think that it's one of the ills of the web design industry is the idea that it's so simple. It's so easy. Oh, we'll just throw something together. It's no big deal. Grab a template, change some stuff. No, I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. You got to put heart and soul into what you're doing and really treat everything really, really, really seriously.
And turn out something unique, right?
Correct. Turn out something unique that functions well, that meets the needs of the business, right? That helps take things to the next level.
Yeah, I always find, and what we do in design life is that little bit of extra, those extra steps to make it unique and stuff that you have to go through that sometimes others are not willing to go through.
Not willing to do it for whatever reason, right?
Yes.
Has the 4 templates that they're choosing from.
That's the easier route, right?
Oh, of course it's easy. I could knock it out in 2 hours, but you get to the point. I've gotten to the point, it's just not about money. Okay. Money comes, in my opinion, from doing great work and from caring about the outcome.
Sure.
If money is the sole driver of what I do, I think I would have failed a long time ago. I want to achieve great things with my clients. And by the way, again, expectations are different across any client relationship is unique, right? My relationship with you is far different than with some other client of mine.
Sure, yeah.
Your expectations are different. How we interact is different. But at the end of the day,
I might be a bigger pain in the ass.
You might be bigger or less, but it's about the advancement of the business, right?
Yes.
And if we're not advancing the business, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
Correct.
And
that's what we're both here for, right? Both of us.
Correct. And it's mutually beneficial, right? If you don't see improvement in at least the lack of error on your site or forward progress or someone to call when there's a problem, you'll look elsewhere that our relationship will end.
And I'm sure you know, like your end, it's probably a lot easier to run a business when your customers are being successful. You know,
of course. It's actually your father said to me, I remember this not too long ago. He said, Alex, I haven't talked to you in a very long time. I said, Larry, I think that's a really good thing, right? Just in the sense that there's no problems.
Yes.
Yeah, there are no problems again. So every relationship is unique, but I think as long as we're going down the road of, we're walking down the road together, trying to improve the business and putting our best effort into it, doing so, I think that's the recipe for success.
Correct. So we're all here tomorrow, you know,
Correct.
That's the point, right?
Correct. My advice to anyone that does, I think what I do, or any business, is just like focus on the relationship, focus on what you're doing, try to do the best you possibly can. The money will come.
Correct. Yeah. Make sure you're taking care of people and that, you know, they understand when you say you do work, you do the work. We do the same thing, you know, and that's how you become a reliable source. And then, you know, like you're a reliable source and they trust you for that.
Correct. If your products were breaking down half of the time that they went out the door because of a poor QA process or whatever,
that would be a problem.
You would get, I assume, demolished online.
Correct.
Right. The reviews would be terrible. There'd be all kinds of problems. You don't need that. Don't need it. We spoke in our previous conversation about your love of the industry that you're in, and that fuels you in order to do what you do.
Correct.
And I so appreciate that. Again, it's like, I've often said, it's like anyone, I don't care what it is that you do, but when you are passionate about it and you care about the result, it's so important. I'll tell you a little story. My wife takes me to this place. I can't remember the name. It's this like the healthy juice places that bottle the stuff somewhere else, right?
Like the cold press type.
Yeah, exactly. And they have ice cream and whatever. There's a dude that works at this one in Town Square.
Okay.
And I so appreciate this guy. You go in there, he knows every flavor, every combination, every correct way of like mixing the thing correctly in order for it to be done. And I've always like, so
he like lives that.
He lives it. It's, and I love that about somebody that's like, whatever you're doing, put your best effort into it. And I just love that. I so admire that.
But I think that also comes down to, and I've noticed in business, it's people who also like to win.
Yeah. It's true.
Because we can tend to be perfectionists and stuff. And some of us, like personally me, I see my reflection of work and what we do at Roken as a reflection of me. So I want that to be good. And I think that you're the same way.
I agree with you. Your name is stamped on it.
Correct.
Your name is stamped on it. I am not one that could have a negative experience with my client and I go to sleep feeling great that night.
Correct.
I can't turn that off.
Yeah, absolutely, I'm the same way.
Absolutely cannot turn that off. Right? It's not going to happen.
Which I'm sure your wife is unhappy with as much as mine is.
There's a little bit of a work-life balance issue going on here. But hey, you know what? We're doing the best that we possibly can.
I get on the thing at home. Dad's on his phone again.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. One of my goals is maybe to tone down a little bit of the work stuff in the evening hours. It's something I really have to work on.
I agree. We'll
get
myself.
there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. All right. Well, look, I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, it was great to have me on. Thank you
for joining. And I think we should do it together in the not too distant future. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.